Hello, I'm here with my good friend and artist, Ruben Blades. He's a songwriter, actor, politician, um, and a very good friend. Um, Ruben is also an associate producer in Plaza Catedral, and he's been helping us all along. Thank you, Ruben, for being with us.
Well, thank you, Abner. Good to see you. Good to talk about this film. It's an important film.
Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you first. The we know that Panama has a lot of problems and it also has a lot of good things, but in
Mhm.
this case we're talking about a topic it's very sensitive, how the boy was killed,
Mhm.
and the one of the lead actors in the film, Fernando Javier de Casta, was killed months before we screened it the first time. Um, when this happened, I remember I asked you, hey, Ruben, I don't. It's so sad. It's so tragic. I don't even know how to deal with this. And I know that you've had similar experiences in your own life.
In that, in
How does one cope with this reality? And what can we do as a artists when reality hits so hard?
it's very difficult to bring any type of understanding to a situation like this, especially when you've had a relationship with the people involved. This movie Catedral is the whole movie develops in the place where I was born. I was born in that neighborhood, San Felipe, and I lived there. I lived there. I moved back in 1993, and it was there were gangs operating, and so I'm very familiar with the violence and the problems there in the neighborhood. But the only way that I think that one can do something about trying to react to such a tragedy is to do our best to rescue as many as we can from the ones that are there. And it sometimes it's a difficult proposition because you have to go through, the government also. You cannot many cases do it on your own. I tried and I couldn't really do as much as I wanted on my own because it's complex. The kids also have families that sometimes show up and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they show up and create problems. So it's very, very, very hard, but I think it's necessary. I, for one, sort of adopted one of the kids that I met when I in 1992, 93, Samantha Alonso, who I've been helping since she was like 10 or 11. There were four kids that I took to my house and I would bring them we would have lunch every day and we would talk and I was following them. Those four kids. Samantha was one, her brother Arcadio, Reycito, and Tata. Her brother Arcadio was killed by gangs. Reycito killed another kid, and I don't know where Reycito is, and I don't know if he was killed himself. And Tata has been coming in and out of prison. It, the one that survived was Samantha, and she got shot in Catedral. She got in Plaza Catedral. She got shot in the stomach. A kid about 11 years old shot her, and she survived. And now, I remember when she called me and she said, I want to do something with my life, and I like surfing, of all things, surfing. I don't know where she got that from, and she's turned into a great surfer. She's a national champion. She's an international champion, and I'm ever since I've been helping her, sponsoring her in the tournaments and getting her, going. And so one way to help these kids is to provide them with the support they don't have in their homes. and in their environment, you know. But I think that we also need to, the government needs to become more active in trying to create a condition for these kids to develop, which they don't have in on their own. And I think that we have abandoned those children, and that's why these things happen.
Um,
How did you find this kid? How did you cast the kid that
Fernando,
yeah.
we did an open call in Santa Ana in the neighborhood where we're going to shoot. I mean, we shot a little bit in Santa Ana and Chorrillo, and most in Plaza in Catedral in San Felipe.
Mm,
And in that neighborhood, we did open calls for kids. We just said we're looking for a kid for a film. You know, if you're between 12 and 14 years old, come over. And we did a very short test, and he came out in we did a first round of about 50 kids, and he was on top, but by far, you know, if he was a 9 or a 10, the next one after him was a 7 or a 6. You know, there was no one even competing with him in terms of his intelligence, his charisma, his way of acting in front of the camera, without ever coaching him or telling him what to do. Just, you know, a couple of very simple tests.
mm,
And then, so I chose him, and we did a test for like uh, a 2-minute trailer, but it took a while. It took almost 2 years for the movie to actually get financed.
right.
So when we were about to start shooting, I said, okay, I need to think about it again, because he grew. 2 years is a lot in the life of he was 12 back when we started, and then maybe 13 or 14 when we started shooting. So I looked for about another 150 kids just to compare with him, and no one ever came close. So yeah, it was a very natural, and he never acted before, and then the big question was, okay, how's this gonna be? How's he gonna play with Ilse Salas, the lead
Right.
actress, who's a professional, and
Right.
she had never acted before with a non-actor or a non-professional actor. So, you know, I was there as an observer the first day they met, and Fernando came in with a hoodie, and he didn't even look at her. And then Ilse, you know, she's a very smart person, and so she knew that it was okay not to force it. You know, so little by little they started getting to know each other, and it was very interesting because in the film they don't know each other in the beginning,
Correct.
and so that parallel of not knowing each other and then getting to know each other and then getting very close was happening in real life while it was happening in the film. You know, it was onset, offset, and you know, by the third week or so, I would look around and they'd be dancing, and she was learning a new dance step from him, and or she was teaching him to say things in Mexican, or they'd be eating, you know, spicy things together. It became like they became a really close pair.
You know, it's a thing that the thing about the film that caught my attention is not only this is a pretty, I mean, elaborated uh, work. Panama has been advancing in terms of the material, in terms of presentation, in terms of how films are being elaborated, and I think that we're going to be doing very well in the future. But right now, I mean, aside from the fact that this film, you know, it would be great for Panamanian film to have a production in the short list for the foreign uh, film competition and the Oscars. It is also important, and this is one of the things that really made me, you know, it made me go all out to try to help with this, is to call attention upon this situation, and and also the fact that we're doing a Panamanian movie. You know, we're not doing a movie to impress Hollywood, or we're not doing a movie because we want to copy, you know, what are the formulas that are being placed out somewhere else. This is a Panamanian movie, and it's about a subject that is international. and one that needs to be understood and brought to the attention of many people. And the fact that, unfortunate fact, that life itself ended up, you know, under underscoring the situation that is being presented in the film, which is the violent death of this promising kid. Hopefully that would even act as more of a wake up call for people to become more involved. I'm really looking forward to see what the reaction is going to be in Panama when when the movie is shown, the audiences in Panama, and how people are going to react. Because I'm going to make a noise as far as the government, because
Yeah.
I've been involved. I've been involved in this. When I was Minister of State, I created a, a program to educate uh, kids in gangs. I was trying to get them out of the gang, and what I came up with a program was to train them as tourist guides, because they knew the neighborhood and whatnot. And it was as tough as it made, your experience will tell you. We got 60 people who came. I mean, they had to go through tests, with psychologists and whatnot, to make sure that we're not going to get a psychopath or an antisocial in that situation. And 20 people said, okay, passed. The 27 got killed in gangs. From the 13, 4 left. They were tired, they didn't care. But 5 stayed and did the whole program until the end. And those 5, I think one got killed, but the other 4 are still working. And that's the encouraging part. And that's why I think that a movie like this one that you chose to make is very important, not just for you as a movie, as a lover as you are, and that's your job, a director, but also as a Panamanian, to call attention upon a situation that affects us as a nation. The problem is not just kids in gangs; it's all of us. How do we
Yeah.
handle the responsibility of living in a city where people don't have the same opportunities that others have, that we have?
That's that's the thing. Just realizing that the responsibility is everyone's. We are
Us.
one society, and understanding that if a boy gets killed in a bad neighborhood, that's our responsibility too. That's something that people, it's very hard
Yeah,
to
bullets have no
understand.
names. Bullets have no names, and they don't have
Mhm.
they don't pick nationalities, and they don't pick sex, and they don't pick years or ages. They just are
Yeah,
there. So we got to deal with that.
but you were asking the first, we had 2 screenings already in Panama. One, it was the opening film for the film festival for If Panama,
Uh-huh.
where it got the audience award, and people were really impacted. I mean, people, you feel it as a director. I know when people just want to say congratulations, or when they really have been impacted, when they feel something, when they're thinking. It's almost like, I was very, very, I don't know if happy is the word, but it was good to see that the movie did something that was beyond just being a film, and people having liked it, but it made people think. It made, it moved them in a way that it seems to have changed ever so slightly their perspective on what they were looking at.
That's all we can hope for, and then
Yeah.
have them support any other initiatives that come forward to try to create opportunities for these kids, because they're bright. They're bright kids. All these 4 kids that I mentioned, Arcadio, Samantha, Reycito, and Tata, they were bright kids, but they're like in a in a wild, a jungle on their own, for many reasons that are not even their fault. They don't have parents, so they don't have guidance, so they don't, they suffer the consequences. Children are the least protected group in our society. Kids don't
Yeah.
vote. So politicians don't give a shit about kids as a rule. They don't appeal to them because there's no votes. So it's up to the families. And when their families are not there, it's up to us. And even if you don't have it in your heart to help somebody else, then do it as an act of self-defense. because it's impossible to expect that within the midst of society, if we don't attend our, if we don't show solidarity to others, that is going to come back and bite us. It's going to affect us. It dehumanizes us, but it's also going to affect us in other ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions to me about the film.
I just thought that well, the girl that played the lead, the Mexican actress,
Alicia, yeah, Ilse Salas.
she was superb. I thought the ensemble was it worked. And again, it was a curious situation because you had some professional actors and then you have people who never acted before.
Yeah.
So it's a tribute to you and to your clarity and your capacity to communicate what it is that you wanted to do and to make everybody comfortable. The more difficult part I would ask you is how good was the support that you got as far as the Panamanian the money to do this movie?
Well, we did get support from the government film fund, which was established maybe 10 years ago or so. And so we got support from that, and we got support from Ibermedia, the Ibero-American Film Fund, and then the rest is just private money. So it's a good mix because we got, I would say, almost half of the budget was film funds, so we could do. I had a luxury set. The staff was like one of the best DPs in Mexico, Lorenzo Hagerman. The editor is one of the best in Chile, Soledad Cerfata. She did the Oscar winning Una Mujer Fantástica. She edited that and many other. I mean, one by one, I've learned from you to say it out loud that it's not a one-man effort.
Oh, no,
this
never.
is this is really a cooperation. And I had really good people to cooperate with. Yeah. Really good people.
Hey, how long did it take you to write the script?
To write the script, that's a tricky question because if you start from the beginning, when I wrote the first word until I actually produced it, it was maybe 5 years. But I wasn't writing for 5 years. You know how it is. I wrote it, I left it aside, I came back to it. But something interesting happened towards the end, maybe even 4 or 5 months before we started shooting. I changed. The lead character was supposed to be a man.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I changed it to a female because I had written it as a macho Latino, knowingly, very stereotypical. And then when I was about to cast it, I said, this is going to look bad. This is not, something wasn't working for me. And I just played it out in my mind. What if it's a woman? And then everything, like all the macho Latino elements of this character became an interesting woman that I didn't know. Absolutely. Almost like a found character, And then I gave the script to Ilse. The first draft I gave her, it was written for a man. I told her, don't worry about that. The fact that I didn't change it is because I don't know her. You know her. You have to tell me what her soul is like. So it was almost like a found character. I didn't make her up because I didn't know her. I just knew the story. So that
Another
and I think that was a result of just me not trying to keep it fresh, because the project was open for so long.
But that was very smart. I think that it worked so much better. I think
Thanks.
The more complex and more subtleness, and there's a lot of discoveries in the way. I thought. The other thing I wanted to say is it how difficult it was to shoot in Panama? Were you seeing like dailies? The facilities are there for that.
No, we didn't really watch dailies. Because I was watching most of it in the monitor, I pretty much knew what we had. And if wow. I did get dailies, that I could watch in my computer. But shooting in Panama is interesting because there is a lack of infrastructure, and there is there's not that many things. Like if you want, I don't know, a special
Yeah,
car to shoot from the side or stuff like that. We don't have the fancy stuff, but we do have a lot of goodwill and a lot of talent from
right.
and people allow you to shoot almost anywhere. And everything seems also to me, like for example, have that shot of the Bridge of the Americas,
Right.
and that's such an iconic part of Panama. But if you would have seen, I mean, if in Panama we had many films already made, you would have seen that shot 1,000 times by now. But it's still all new.
Right.
So it's exciting. Yeah, for me, it's really exciting to shoot in Panama. It's raw. I would leave the streets, for example. Most of the time, I would not block the roads so that people would pass by and cars would and there was that raw energy going on. And yeah, I mean, I love shooting in Panama. There's a very good energy, and there's always risks, but because I shot so many documentaries, I'm used to that kind of risk, of the unforeseen, the surprises that can come.
Didn't have any problems with gangs there when you were shooting.
No, not at all. Not at all. We shot in a really bad part of the neighborhood, but we came with people from there, and they were all very happy to host us, and we felt safe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I think that my as I said to you before, I think that this is a very mature film. It's a different type of film from all the films that I've seen that have been shot in Panama. It's more ambitious. It's more socially relevant. It's it's very human, and I was very proud to be a part of it and to help it, because I think it for you it's a very special production, and in terms of your career and what you've been doing, because you've been doing social commentary with Chance. There was social commentary as well, but this took it up a notch, and then the unfortunate occurrence, what happened with 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 the kid, it just underscores the importance of trying to save other kids from this kind of situation.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ruben. I think we should stop here because we could talk a lot more, and I know we usually do, but to keep it short for YouTube. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, bro. Hasta luego. Cuídense. Thank you.